We'll call the Tuesday, October 5th, 2021, Williams County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Beth, will you call roll?
Barry?
Here.
Corey?
Here.
Bo?
Here.
David?
Here.
We have a quorum. We will continue. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we'll start with the consent agenda. Say it again.
May we have a motion to add the O&M agreement for Goliath Compressor Station to the consent agenda, please?
Okay,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Beth, roll call vote.
Barry?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes,
Bo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
motion passes. Okay, so on to the consent agenda then.
Motion to approve is presented, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Beth, roll call vote.
Corey?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. We'll jump right into planning and zoning. Hey, Sam.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sam Miller with County Planning. I'm going to pass out. We just received a public comment letter today around 3 p.m. for this first agenda item, so LU-0114-21. So I'm going to pass this out really quick.
Okay.
This item, LU-0114-21, is a request from Ed Rentemaki. He is representing the owners. It's a divided interest property, so it's Christopher Hal, Charlene, Kelly, Hickle. The applicant's requesting a minor subdivision, which they have completed pretty much this process up prior to recordation. This hasn't been recorded because, as you know, the zone change has to be approved in order for the subdivision to be approved. So the subdivision is to create 4 lots. Each lot would be about 13 acres each. The total acreage of the area is roughly 55 acres. The newly created lots would take access from Williams County Road 17. The applicant has applied for a zone change from agricultural to rural residential. The intent of this subdivision, and you can see that reiterated in the public comment letter that was just passed out, is to give each owner their own separate lot. So there's 4 owners, there'll be 4 lots. They've stated that there isn't an intention right away to build 3 more homes. There is already a current home on the property, but this would give them the ability to each have their own separate lot, and then in the future they would have the ability to place 1 home on each lot. This proposal went before the Water Resource Board. The study for the de minimis effect was approved back in April. And if this looks familiar, it's because this came before you on June 15th. And the Board of County Commission denied the request, citing opposing public comment letters. So included in the staff report is an updated township comment letter. Once again, they voted undecided. They had stated, from my conversations with the chairman, they had stated that they wanted to infill in the city of Ray before they went and subdivided outside of the city. And then just a clarification too, that this minor subdivision would only be creating 4 lots, and any further lot creation would trigger another subdivision review. The applicant is in the audience, Ed, if you would like to speak with him.
Okay. Any questions for Ed? Okay. All right, then. Any questions for Sam? I guess I have one question, Sam. Again, this is just to reiterate, this would be approving, if we approve this tonight, it would be for a single dwelling on each lot? The ability to do a single dwelling on each
Correct.
lot?
Correct. So it would be 13-acre lots, 4 of them, and then into the rural residential zoning district, which would allow 1 house per lot. And then I forgot to mention too, that the Planning and Zoning Commission denied this request. And then Planning and Zoning Division, so staff has 4 comments if this were to be approved, that we have our own conditions. But the Planning and Zoning Commission did deny the request for a zone change.
Sam, was there a reason for denial?
I think the person who had opposed, or well, there was some opposition in the audience, and they did speak at that meeting. I think it was just, it seemed like they wanted to keep development close to the city, and they were afraid that this subdivision would snowball into further subdividing of the property and create more lots within this area. But as you can see from the proposal, those are pretty long and narrow lots. They would have to do a massive lot configuration to create some kind of like major development. And we would be notified, go through an extensive review. The township would go through an extensive review. So that snowball is kind of out of the question for.
Sam, on page 2, help me understand that, because what am I missing? Because it says that planning and zoning recommended approval contingent upon obtaining input from county highway.
So that was when it first came to us. So that was because initially the Planning and Zoning Commission was concerned about the number of approaches onto County Road 17. And so we had talked with Highway Department. We went out there. The applicant had stated that they're only going to use the existing approaches, and there's actually going to be like a frontage. There's enough for a frontage access. So if they did need to put another approach, they would just utilize that access there, and they wouldn't have to create another approach. And if they wanted to create another approach, they would have to go to the county highway for approval for that 4th, 5th, whatever approach. Yep.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay, what are the wishes of the board? We typically do comments on, it's just, forgive my ignorance.
So the public hearing took place at the Planning and Zoning Commission, but it's up to you if you want to accept
Okay.
public comment.
If y'all would want to invite comments, I'm open to it. Gotcha. Okay. Anybody from the audience want to make a comment on this? Okay, we got a couple. Okay, we'll start with you, Mr. Hickle, if you just state your name for the record.
Hal Hickle, patriotic disabled American veteran. Americanism, property rights and contracts. I put a home on there. My other family members, it wasn't so bad when I put the home on there, but when I got the tax bill, and we've been splitting the tax bill. Because I have a home there that has no running water or no sewer, the taxes were raised up. So my taxes are higher on the lot, and I can't even live in the home because I need to separate it out from the rest of them. The road there, the approaches are there, there's no more approaches, the road's there, it's 35 mile an hour before that corner until after the next corner. So the traffic is slow through there. Right now, I would say there's really not that much traffic compared to when there was a boom. There isn't that much. I don't really have a problem getting out on the road. This meets all your standards in your comprehensive plan. The township board, my father was on the township board until we tried to do this in 2010. At that time, he was pushed off the township board and Tom Wheeler got on. So Tom Wheeler went from being a bully to a tyrant. Thank you. Any questions?
No. Mr. Wheeler?
Tom Wheeler, lifelong resident of Williams County. I guess I'm a little bit shocked about, but I have to respond to that, I don't see I'm the bully in this case, but is what me and my family is trying to do is preserve our way of life. We live in the country. We don't live in town. We don't want to live in town. We don't want to live next to a town. And that's, you know, this goes way back. Some of you were in at the beginning and some of you weren't. But there was a master plan for a water tower and their own ambulance and fire department. I mean, lots of houses. And I'm afraid this is a step towards that, opening it up so that they can proceed and get that. I don't know, what's the plan? They say this, but I think all of you were on the board several years ago when one of the applicants, Charlene, got an RV camp approved. And that was south of their residence, across the road from me. And from the very beginning, we said, if they build it across the road, right by their house, we won't object. Don't put it on this side of the road by our house, by our residence. We raise cattle, that's our calving pasture right beside that. It goes with dogs, everybody's got dogs. Are they gonna rent them out? Are they gonna, you know, sell these lots? We don't know what the plan is. But you know, this committee approved that RV camp, and Charlene at the time made reference to the point that that was her property. She's gonna get it from her parents, and I thought that took care of it. They'll do the RV camp. They want more building, they'll do it on that side of the road by their own house. But, you know, that fell apart for whatever reason. Or didn't happen. I don't know the circumstances there. But if they got other property north of their house, south of their house, north of 66th Street, where lots of other places to build, but why do they gotta keep pushing it right by us? It's gonna change our way of life. The first time I was here, I stayed at Farm Journal at Dakota Farmer. They always, every so often they have articles about people that are on the farm. And, you know, this is in Iowa or any place. And people expand, the cities expand, and the next thing, people have a romantic idea of living in the country. And they get out there, then they want to change the way that the farmer's been doing it forever. You know, raising cattle or, you know, moving manure or spraying, anything. That's what it's about for us. And it isn't just me. I got a son with me on a farm, and hopefully he'll be there. I mean, my great-granddad homesteaded where I live in 1902. And so, you know, I'm, I'm the fourth generation, and my son will hopefully be the fifth generation and continue after that. It's going to change, whoever lives there, it's going to change our way of life if these things are allowed. And, you know, I've watched this thing from the very beginning, and I've never brought this up. But I thought it's really odd that someone else didn't bring it up when they're going ahead with that. And there's actually an interstate pipeline, an Enbridge pipeline. And I stepped it off. I don't know exactly where the pipeline is, but it's about 110 feet from the south property line where they want to put this. A major high-pressure oil line right there. You know, I think that's a good place to start a development or start anything that close to a pipeline like that. And they know it's there because it runs right south of their farmstead, you know. And in that day, you didn't think that if somebody wants something, you said, yeah, you signed the easement. But nowadays, we would not sign that easement, but it's in there. It got put in about 63. I don't know the exact year. And it's still there. But it's the interstate line. And I think they've done, I know they did it once, I think twice, they've increased the pressures on it and to get more flow. You know, I just don't think that's a good place to start a development, is right 110 feet from a pipeline. I don't know what the restriction is.
Mr.
have any
Wheeler, and if
questions,
you,
I'd be-
just a quick question, comment, I guess, this is an improvement, or what they're asking for approval on is the ability to put a single home on each one of those lots, right? And if there anything above and beyond that, then they would need further approval, if I'm correct, right? Okay. Just so we're talking
Yeah.
apples
Yeah,
to,
I
what
did
what's
realize
presented
that.
to us.
And
Yeah.
my son and I came in yesterday and talked to Sam to clarify some things, because we, you know, at the planning and zoning, there was some, we got a little bit confused there. So I came in yesterday, we came and talked to Sam, and she clarified that very fact. But I believe it's a start. And they did build the road on their side of the line, north of me. On their south line, they built the road on their side. And they cut the ditch right up to my property line to make a ditch for that road. And it was not made to county specs, and I had to file a complaint with the Williams County Water Board. And the water board finally forced them into putting drainage in where it belongs, culverts in the road and stuff, which they didn't do. They didn't build it to spec. And there's also one going north and south. I think it's where the house is there. I think it's right along there, and it comes all the way north and south. So they have built some roads. So what is the intent? So that shows you build roads, you don't build roads to nowhere. You build roads because you got plans of doing something there. So that's why I'm overly suspicious of the whole thing. If there's any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions or any other comments from the audience? Any questions for staff? Okay. Then I'll leave it to the board for a decision.
Sam, Mr. Chairman, I guess first of all, I have a question, if I may.
By all means.
When this came before us before, I think we had a question or discussion on could this, because it seems like to me that the family wants to split the lots. That's the major concern, I think, or question that they're having. And I think we had that question came up at our last meeting, did it not, Barry, that could, and I think you might have asked the question, that can't these lots be split up equally between the four of them? So there's not one owner, there's four owners without a zone change? Leave it at ag?
So in order to do that, they would have to have applied for a variance to remain in the agricultural zoning district. But even if they remained in the agricultural zoning district, they'd still get that one house per lot. And they would be kind of like legally non-conforming because they'd be a 13-acre lot in the agricultural zoning district, which usually we have minimum of 40 acres.
I guess my feelings is, I mean, I would be, I would be hard pressed to be happy about things if I was going to give some land to my children and somebody comes along and says, no, you can't do that. It's like, well, I think that's, I mean, it's one of our basic freedoms, right? Or not freedom, our rights anyway. But that's my thoughts.
Sam, if it was gonna be more than, say we approved it and it's the one dwelling per lot, what would be the steps that they would have to go through in order to make it something different? I mean, to see what, if there's a different plan, I mean, what would that take? What would have to happen?
Sure. So I guess there's two different ways of looking at it. So say I own one of the 13-acre lots that is currently they're going through the subdivision process for. If I wanted to place another home, so 2 homes on the property, that would require a conditional use permit. So that's a public hearing process. So they'd have to come before you again. If I wanted to subdivide my 13 acres further, I would have to go, it's already zoned, so I wouldn't have to go through a public hearing process, but it would be a re-subdivision. And so that would need approval from your commission. And then also we would notify the township board and it would go through all of our interdepartmental review. So it would have to meet a minimum lot size, minimum lot width. So these lots are already pretty skinny and narrow. So if I wanted to further subdivide my 13-acre parcel, the lot configurations that I would have option to would be very limited. You can't really break up 13 acres successfully without like building road. I mean, it would go through a lot more review. It wouldn't just be like, I could easily further subdivide my lot without anyone commenting on it. Does that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That was,
Does every one of these 4 lots have access to a road? So they can, the property owner each would have their own access to the road?
Correct. So they all abut County Road 17 up to the north. So they're, how it is, you can almost see the lot lines based on the existing approaches. There would just be another one in between. But yeah, so they're vertical and they would run north to south, and there's 4 of them.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because we've had this discussion before where, you know, there's different lot owners, but if they have to have, you know, if a road passes through or by all these lots on somebody else's land, there's got to be easements and all this stuff for access. So if they're gonna split this into 4 lots and there's not 4 distinct access points for each lot, then I'm assuming someday they could be denied access to their own property unless they just drive through the road ditch
So
onto
actually,
their property.
sorry. So Ed, through this platting process, he actually put in a reciprocal ingress egress easement. So they have 50 feet of easement on the northern side, so they all have access to their lots. So that reciprocal ingress egress would exist with the recordation of this plat. So they wouldn't have to ask their neighbor for access.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question if I may.
Please.
I see Darcy's in the crowd. I have a question for you, if I may. I'm going to put you on the spot. But past history, has past history proven that when land is rezoned from agricultural to rural residential, is the valuation change?
No, not until they actually put a structure on there and start using it, whether for residential or commercial use. It would stay agricultural until that happened,
Okay,
valued wise.
because I'm just thinking, we had numerous requests in the past when the boom was on, that people had agricultural land. They got it changed, the zoning changed, whether it was residential, commercial, industrial, and they paid a certain price for it, and they turned around and flipped it without doing anything, and the valuation skyrocketed. I say this because Mr. Hickel was referencing how high his taxes have gone up. And I would assume, common sense tells me from past history, that that's going to happen here, if this was to be approved.
It would only if they started using it for put a residence on it, then it would go up. I'm not 100% sure of what the past, a specific one in the past that you're referencing. So, yep.
Okay, looking for a decision.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the zone change just based on the fact that I believe it should be our right to give land to our own children. I mean, I don't really see how we can, I mean, it's not gonna, I mean, it can't be a major 1 acre lots without a whole bunch of more meetings like this.
Sure.
And
Let's wait for a second and then we'll ask for some discussion. Okay. Right, no,
I'll
that's all right.
second it so Barry can keep going.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, and let's further discussion.
well, I mean, I believe it's fundamental. I mean, I would just be livid if we decided that I couldn't give land to my own children. I mean, that would be a hard one for me to put up with. I know that. And I don't see the way them lots are sitting, they're run north and south skinny. If you were going to have future smaller lots in there, I don't know how you would get access to them. You know, the road work, the network of it in there, it just, I don't see it being doable, really.
I don't certainly disagree with you, Barry, on the fact that we should be able to give property to our children, but then again, there's also, the neighbors also have rights. And I think the situation here is there should be a way that an individual can do that, can divide up their property and give it to their children, whoever, without going through a zoning change. There should be a way that they should be able to keep that property as it is, unless the fact is, if all four siblings are gonna build a house on those lots, then to me, that's a little different story. But I highly believe that that's gonna happen. I would assume that, and I'm making an assumption here, that 3 of those lots are probably gonna get sold for somebody else to develop.
But with this approval, they can only develop it with one house per lot. With the approval we're saying today, they can only put one house on it. They're, yeah, absolutely, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter if they sell it, it's still only one house. Am I right, Sam? 'Cause that, I guess that's, I mean, I agree with Barry that it's, you should be able to do with what you want with your land. And this is pretty limiting with only one house per, so I feel a little more comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, I'm getting what David is saying because it's, to me, it's kind of like, here's the cart is before the horse. So the only lot that should be asking for its own change is the one that's already got a house on it. I mean, it appears to me that it's still farmed. Is that all farmland? Okay, so it's being used for an agricultural purpose. So the one lot has a house on it. The other 3, if they could transfer the land between them, and then the other 3 would have, if they want to put a house in, they have to come in and get their lot zoned. But it's because of the lot sizes that they have to be changed. They can't remain ag because they're less than 40, okay.
So actually later on in our items, we're actually proposing an ordinance amendment to allow for 2 dwellings to be located on an agriculturally zoned property without having to go before the commission too. So for those to remain in the agricultural zoning district, they then have the potential to have 2 homes on each agriculturally zoned parcel.
And
Sorry, so
that's-
if we left them,
Ag, you would
Ag,
have
then-
potential to have more homes.
okay.
That's to do away with the conditional use for a second, like
Right,
the
in
boy
ag.
moves, somebody, family moves home and gonna help farm or something because there's lots of there's a lot of farmsteads out there with 2 homes.
Right, and we thought, as staff, we thought that 40-plus acres, it made sense to have the ability to have 2 homes on a property. But if it was zoned rural residential or urban residential, it's 1 home per property.
Additional discussion? Anything?
Actually,
Yes, Beth?
Can I change, or could you amend your motion to say, instead of giving land to our children, can you say family? Because I don't think these are Hal's children.
The land was originally from their parents. Donald, right? No? Oh, I thought your dad had this. They didn't own it. And, well, yes, I could do that.
Okay. And the second is good with the change for the record.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional discussion?
To approve the zone change, it's our right to give land to our family, and it's not going to become a major subdivision.
technically, the motion is to approve the zone change. The rest of it is discussion. You know, it just approve the zone change. Yeah. I know. The other stuff is just, it's fluff. But good job.
Good catch.
You gathered it.
Is, yeah,
Yeah, yes, and the, follow the 4 recommendations from planning and zoning.
you good with the, on the second?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it's approve the zone change with the conditions from planning and zoning.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
No.
David,
No.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Motion passes. Good.
Next on the agenda is LU-0116-21. Virginia Maury is requesting a conditional use permit for a second dwelling on a 30-acre parcel. This property is currently zoned agricultural, but with the staff county-wide zoning map update, because it's under 40 acres, it will be rezoned to rural residential. Access to both of these proposed, or the proposed home and the existing home, take access from 52nd Street, which is a township road. A new approach will need to be created for the proposed additional dwelling. Township recommended approval of this request. And Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 5-1 with the 4 conditions listed. Just a note too, there is some industrial equipment located on the back end of the property, and staff have reached out to the applicant to have that removed prior to the placement of the second dwelling. She's agreed to that, so it is a condition of the conditional use permit request. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay. Any questions for staff? Then what are the wishes of the board?
I would make a motion to follow planning and zoning's recommendation.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve?
Yes. Motion passes.
Next on the agenda is an ordinance amending the 2015 zoning ordinances to amend Chapter 6-13, giving the Board of County Commissioners discretion to limit the number of conditional use permits issued for the disposal of T-norm waste and other radioactive or nuclear waste. So this went to Planning and Zoning on September 16th, and that commission recommended to deny this ordinance amendment.
Could you give a,
Synopsis.
yeah, if you would, please. Yeah.
So on the whole ordinance amendment and how it kind of came to be, or?
Well, it seems strange to me that staff
not
would
have-
bring something to Planning and Zoning Commission and they would deny.
So this ordinance amendment was a request, I believe, and Karen, you might be the best person to jump in here now, but I believe that this ordinance amendment was a request by the Board of County Commission for Karen to draft up, and then you had sent it back down to Planning and Zoning so it could follow a public hearing process.
My apologies. Yes, I'm like, oh,
You can blame it on me, Steve. It was my idea.
yeah.
I guess my question, was there much for public comment at the planning and zoning with it?
We received 0 public comment in terms of letters being submitted, and no one showed up to the meeting. Very quiet.
Thank you for shaking the cobwebs loose. Clearly,
No worries.
it had slipped my mind. My apologies.
I would make a motion to follow planning and zoning and deny.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, we bumped right along. We have a motion and a second and an opportunity to discuss at this point. David, on the staff report, Board of County Commissioners, this was on the request to limit the number and we have a motion by Commissioner Hanson and a second by Commissioner Anderson. Yeah, to deny. And if you have any other questions or comments or, okay. Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
David?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes?
Steve?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Yeah, that was, yeah. Okay. You've got some cobwebs to shake loose too, apparently. Yeah. Okay, Sam, sorry, back to you.
Okay, next is an ordinance amending the 2015 zoning ordinances to amend Article 2, Chapters 2-2, regarding additional dwellings in the agricultural zoning district. So this is what I was talking about earlier. We, as you all know, we have a lot of requests for conditional use permits on agriculturally zoned properties for additional dwellings. A lot of these come from farmers who one generation still lives on the property and now their offspring or their children want to build a house on the same property and eventually take over the farm. So we thought that if a property is over 40 acres, which you have to have a minimum lot size of 40 acres in agricultural, that just as a permitted use, you can have 2 homes. So we would still look at the house and the placement of the house through our building review, but this means it wouldn't cost, CUP I think is $500. $500 and a 2-month public hearing process for you to get an additional dwelling for a family member or whomever. So this would not apply for rural residential properties and urban residential because we kind of want to take a closer look at those. The lot sizes are smaller, so that could be 5 to 10 acres. We kind of want to make sure you're out of easements in compliance with other things. So that's why it's only being proposed for agricultural zoning district.
Okay.
Any questions?
Would make a motion to approve following planning and zoning recommendation.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Motion passes.
One thing I did want to just follow up with that and say, so with this ordinance, we are not allowing another home as a conditional use permit in ag. So that would be the placement of 3 or more homes. They wouldn't have that ability to do. At that point, we'd ask them to subdivide the property. So I just kind of wanted to have that on the record as well.
So
Thank you.
the residents that currently have the CUP, is this gonna make that go away then? I mean, they won't have to, keep, reapply or anything like that, right?
Typically, we don't put renewal. We don't ask them to renew every year for a conditional use permit. But if they changed property owners, so let's say you own 40 acres and you have a CUP for an additional dwelling, if you sold your property, the next person buying the property would be legally complying. So they would have full compliance with those 2 homes on them, and they wouldn't have to apply for another CUP to keep that additional dwelling.
Okay.
So the last thing I have is just a quick update. If you remember back in early September, the Board of County Commission had tabled a request on behalf of Transport Me. This was for a zone change to rural commercial and a CUP for a caretaker's residence. So the request was tabled in order for the applicant to make contact with School District 7 and then the Teton Foundation to seek assistance or to support them in securing an appropriate and affordable location to park transportation buses. So we've tried to keep in good communication with the applicant. They submitted a letter. There's actually a more recent letter. I'll pass that out. I think that was received today. Yeah, today the 5th. So hold on. So after that September 7th meeting, the county did send a memo to the school district and the Teton Foundation, kind of asking for them to support this business. The county didn't receive a letter back, and the applicant hasn't been able to make contact with School District 7. I actually called the transportation director a few times and left a message, and I didn't hear anything back either. So staff is just kind of looking for direction on, this is still a tabled item. I'm not sure if you have direction for us or for the applicant on how to move forward with that tabled request.
Commissioner Hanson, do you have anything to?
I did speak with John Kasmer, and he was very interested to talk to him. Now, that's as far as it got. I said that they had come and talked to us. We had kind of directed them to go talk to the school district because they're transporting their kids. And so I think we need to get them in touch. If nobody's answering the phone at the transportation barn, you got to go to the next step up. And if we have to go all the way to a school board member, they need to do that. But I don't know that it's our place to have to facilitate it. They need to get a hold of them. And
It's frustrating that they won't even call our staff back.
no, I'm not defending them.
No, I know.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can give them Mr. Kasmer's cell phone number. I'll give it to you at the end of the meeting. If you
Yeah, that would be great, and then I can pass that along to the applicant.
I may
Yes, sir.
just add a few things. And I agree with you, Commissioner Hanson, that, yeah, we probably shouldn't be the ones facilitating it. But I think we just start looking at what direction we should go to bring it so we can get it off the table as a tabled item. You know, if this board wishes, it can certainly stay tabled longer. But if it turns into they are saying they cannot get a hold of the school saying, well, we're open to hearing it, at what point do we just say, a decision needs to be made? I guess is what we're looking for right now, because it shouldn't be tabled indefinitely, because it's not fair to the applicant or to the residents out there.
I would agree 100%. I would like us, since there is an opportunity yet to get them to actually communicate with each other, that it would be nice to hear some official response from School District 7 before we readdress it, and unless I'm way off base, but.
I agree, Mr. Chairman, and I think it's only right that these people should probably be at a meeting, so maybe we just table this for the meeting in 2 weeks to allow them to make a presence.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense. Commissioner Montgomery, thank you. Karen, do we need another motion to continue the table, or is it just leave it tabled and? Okay, since it's been brought. Okay, we have a motion to table this request until the next meeting. Is there a sec?
Whoa, that blew my mind.
Okay. Yeah,
Well, I will second the
okay.
motion to table.
Ooh, Any discussion? Oh, wait, yeah, go ahead. Till the next meeting, yep.
Which is October 19th. 5th and 7 is 12 and 7 is 19.
Thank you. All in favor? Signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Planning and zoning. Moving on, assessor.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have 2 abatement hearings for you tonight, both of which are for the same property by the same applicant, just 2 different years. They're for the 2020 and 2021 tax years filed by Darren Hauge on the east half of the Northwest and government lots 1 and 2 on Section 31, Township 156, Range 97. The applicant is requesting approval of his active farm residence exemption for both years. Just a little background, Mr. Hauge did not return his statement of farm gross income to our office for 2020 and also failed to send in his 2021 application for this year. Since both are required, we have denied him for both years. And his property was put on the tax roll. He did submit his 2020 application for exemption and statement of farm gross income for 2019 on June 1st of 2021, but was advised that he would have to file an abatement. For his 2021 application we received on July 26th. North Dakota state law allows for the farm gross income to be reported from either of the 2 years prior, so his 2019 income would apply for the 2021 application. His income from farming activities was 100% of his total income with the minimum requirement by the state century code of 66%. A hearing to review his applications for abatement was held by Equality Township Board on September 13th and was approved.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
Would make a motion to approve the residence exemption for Darren Hauge
For both years.
for both years.
Okay,
I will second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote?
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Beth?
I just need, we appointed, Lindsay as the North Dakota State Fair delegate. I just need you to sign the form because I got it from the state. So that's all I need you to do there. The court facilities improvement grant, I put that on there, but I see that, Keith has already filed for that. Kevin, Keith. It's already been filed for by, okay, it's been a long day. And then, Brenda is going to come and speak about the tax foreclosure properties.
Okay, do we need to address the state fair or the court facilities improvement via motion?
No, you just have to sign the form because you guys appointed in December.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Brenda. Floor is yours.
Good evening. So today I come before you for the 2018 tax foreclosure properties. We currently have 21 properties left on our list. We started out with 374 properties at the beginning of the process. I have given all of you a little booklet there with, that's also on the slideshow, gives you information on each one of the properties. And we need to set a minimum bid price for them for the tax foreclosure sale on November 16th. It would be the first thing we need to take care of tonight.
Karen?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in setting the minimum sales price, if you intend on just doing it for the unpaid taxes, penalties, and interest that are due, I'm going to ask that for property that has, that's vacant land, that you add an additional $200 on there. Well, no, first I need to know whether or not the board would want to have Keith secure and maintain the tax foreclosure properties. Some of the properties have buildings on them, and so we would need to decide whether or not to secure them and maintain them. Yeah. Yeah, what we would probably do is for securing the buildings, I'm guessing that Keith would probably go out there and maybe change the locks, and then the vacant land, we really wouldn't be securing them.
Yeah, I think I think there, it would be my opinion, based on how the rules have been explained to me, that we would, well, that we would go with just the taxes based on, because didn't we have an explanation of, because of
Yes.
the law, because
Yep.
of, yeah, I
Yep.
mean, based on your recommendation.
And any costs we're not gonna be able to incur, are we?
Well, no, yes, because,
Well, no, yes.
No,
okay.
yes.
oh, no, yeah. I meant yes, yes, that's why I'm asking that if you set it at the minimum sale price at the taxes that are owed plus the penalties and interest or whatever, you know, whatever.
Allowed by
Brenda's-
statute. Yeah.
That you add to the property that has, if you're gonna want them secured and maintained, to add to the property that has buildings and structure on, it, add an extra $500 on it to cover the cost of any kind of securing, maintaining, including
He's got
mowing,
20
snow
to do.
removal, ice removal.
Oh,
Vacant land would be an extra $200 in case we have to do any kind of maintaining on it. And ag land, we're requesting 0.
so by statute, we can do that?
Yep, you can charge the cost of selling the property. And the typical costs of selling a property include real estate commissions, insuring, utilities, maintaining the land, landscaping it. But in discussing things with Julie and with Keith, we believe that we kind of sort of cut that down to really the cost of what the county would probably really incur is maintaining the land and securing the land with buildings on it.
I would, we may have to do some basic maintenance, because here's my concern, is that if there's a sidewalk or, you know, if you don't clear the snow and somebody slips, falls out.
Well, also, do you want to put it on the state fire and tornado too?
Well, okay, then that's
Insure them.
okay, that's another thing too. Okay, so tax foreclosure property is automatically covered under the umbrella of the county's governmental liability insurance. And so the other set of insurance that would actually cover buildings and contacts is called the state fire and tornado insurance. The question would be whether or not you want to cover, so we'd only have to really cover the properties that have buildings or structures on them, really. However, in doing some checking, the finance department discovered that no other counties have state fire and tornado insurance on their tax foreclosure properties. They just let it go, really.
Or
And
yeah.
plus, if we did decide, if the board did decide they wanted state fire and tornado, we'd have to go through the process of applying for insurance for each of the buildings, which would be a longer process and
let's-
more expensive. So I would recommend that you skip the fire and tornado
Thank you.
insurance.
Thanks.
That's, yeah.
Yes, no?
Yeah,
Yes, no.
yes,
I
no.
think,
No.
I think NDRF does that now, State
Yep.
Fire and Tornado.
Yeah, yes. They-
When would the sale be though? I mean, if we approve that we want to sell this,
November 19th.
get rid of them as fast as we can. We don't need
Precisely.
to
Yep.
spend a bunch
Right,
of money.
that's
or-
why we recommend to sell it for what's owed for
Tax.
back taxes, not market value.
And if they don't sell,
Then they stay on our,
Nope.
on our inventory and we can sell them at some other time.
Right.
We can have a special sale.
so can we add more dollars to it, Karen, if they don't sell? Because $500 isn't gonna go very far if we have a piece of property for 1, 2, 3, 4 years.
Sure, if we continue to hold on to them past the November sale, yeah, we can add some stuff on then. Then I would have another discussion with finance and with Keith to see how much, more it would cost, like per month kind of thing, really. Because, even though the law changed and the proceeds have to go back to the owner or to the state unclaimed property thing, we still, under our home rule charter ordinance, have the ability to go ahead and just advertise the properties for sale also, though, really. We just don't get to keep the proceeds, really, except for the cost of
Tax.
selling the property, and the taxes and stuff. So, yeah,
Perfect.
so no, I just need a motion, no on the state fire and tornado insurance.
I will make that a motion.
Okay,
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
okay, then I also would need a motion, yes, on maintaining and securing the property, if that's what you want to do. However, in talking to Keith about this, Keith, yeah, I'll let Keith come up here and tell him what Richard said to him.
Okay, please.
While he's coming up here, I do have a question on that as well. Are we going to assess that amount on a current owner who is still able to come in and do a redemption on their property up until the minute the property goes for sale?
I would say not until after the sale in November.
If we incur the expenses before, yes, we would.
Keith, go ahead and,
Richard said when he had only secured a couple properties in the last 4 years. So, I mean, it's up to you guys what you want to do, but he hadn't secured it. I said one in Tioga he had done, and I think one in town maybe.
okay.
Keith, do we know where Helen, Karen, are there any people living in these houses? Or Beth, do you know?
Brenda?
That is part of what we do not know yet at this time. Usually after, once the county takes possession of the property, that's when we send somebody from the county out to check on the property, see if somebody's actually living there or has leased or is renting a
Or is
structure that's on
squatting
the
or-
property. And at that point, then I have to go through the procedures of getting with the sheriff's department to do an eviction notice. because
And then
it's no
in the
longer theirs.
meantime, until we sell it, we have sent tenant letters and we've also requested rent from them.
Okay. Well, the question before us is, do we want to add in the cost of maintenance? And what is the,
Well, the question is, do you want Keith to, as of when you set the minimum sale price today until the November sale on the 19th of November, do you want Keith to secure and maintain the properties?
Well, I think we need to. I mean,
Okay.
if we don't, doesn't it put us, I mean, it kind of stretches us out if we just leave these sit there because we're the ones in charge of them.
Well, and I think next week will be a better telltale sign of what we need to do once we've actually been out and looked at them. That's kind of the plan, I guess, for next week is to go out, drive, look, see if there's anybody in there, and then decide whether what we need to do to, if we need to change locks. I've got a bag of locks and
Good.
whatnot, for hasps and padlocks and things to.
do we own the property yet? Legally, do we own the property yet?
Yes.
Yes,
We do. Okay, so then that's easy. Yeah.
The tax deed will be filed, wait, we've filed the tax deed, haven't we?
No, the tax deed is not filed yet because we have to wait to make sure that we do not receive any payments that were postmarked by the 1st.
So the tax deed will be filed tomorrow.
Once the tax deed is filed, then we'll legally own the property, so, yeah.
Okay.
So not yet today, yeah.
But you said, Brenda, Friday?
The reason I'm doing Friday is because of the delays in the postal service now.
I'm fine with it. I'm just, so as of Friday, coming next week when you're going to look, they're ours.
So my plan was to start on Monday.
Right? Am I right? Okay, so that.
Yes.
This has gone a long time.
Okay.
So what do we need, Karen, how do we need to state that? I mean, do we just add arbitrarily, say it's $500, or do we say cost of any maintenance is gonna be added on to the tax foreclosure and then have, or is that a pain in your neck, Keith?
No, you don't have.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
On all the time.
Yeah. No, I think it'd probably be better to just tag on a specific amount. That doesn't mean that the whole amount is going to be used, but it sort of kind of acts as sort of a buffer so that covers any cost possibly that Keith department might incur. So, I mean, if you tag on an extra $500 for property that's got buildings and structures on it, but he only sends it spending $300, that's whatever he spends is only what we'll keep back.
Okay.
And that can't be changed?
Well,
Until-
when you set the minimum sales price today, no, it can't.
So why don't we go 1,000? How do we know it's $500 gonna cover some of these?
Because I talked to Keith, and Keith thought that $500 sounded like a pretty good idea.
There we go.
If it's $1,000, Keith, you're paying the difference?
Well, I mean, if it's a residential in a month, you know, if we change locks and maybe mow it once, I figured for a city lot. And then if it's a vacant city lot, let's say, or a subdivision where we have complaints of neighbors complaining of weeds and stuff growing, we have to go out and mow it. That I figured $200 would cover, you know, a couple hours of one of my guys. And this spreadsheet, I've got that also, and I'll just keep a track on the end of whatever hours or costs I've got to try and hopefully have a better handle on it next year, since this is my first swing at this.
Yes, Beth.
Do you want to set it as Karen said, ag land 0, vacant land $200, and those with dwellings 500?
Not just dwellings, but commercial, any kind of buildings or structures.
Right, dwellings.
Yeah, but there's commercial property too, though.
Okay.
$100 in case there is one or two that are over $500, because
Is there any-
looking at these houses, what if you have to go board them up?
Is that a motion, David?
Thank you. Yes, it will be a motion.
I love it. I'm gonna second that.
Could you say it again?
This is for all land, vacant land, ag land, and anything that's got buildings or structures on it.
And just for reference sake, I guess we have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. One of these is $192.05. So I mean, literally the fee we're gonna charge potentially would be well over what it's.
Yeah, but if you look at the market value, I mean, the market value is a bit higher though too,
Certainly,
so.
certainly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So any additional discussion? Feels like it's been beat up well enough. Beth, roll call vote.
Can,
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. Moving on.
just before we move on, I just want to make sure that that motion included securing and maintaining the property and $500 across the board additional costs on the minimum sales price.
Now that we've voted on
Yeah,
it,
no, I know, but it's like we were talking about, yes, we want to secure and maintain, but I don't know if that actually probably got part of the motion. I just want to make sure that it's clear on the record that this board wants us to secure and maintain it.
Mr. Chairman, for Karen's sake, I will make another motion that states that we will secure the property as soon as it becomes Williams County's ownership
And maintain.
and maintain.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
No discussion, I assume. Yeah. Okay, can we do an all in favor on this one? No.
No, I'm
Roll call
sorry.
vote, please.
Yeah.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes, motion passes quickly.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Can I put on there, Karen, the
appreciate
2018
you
tax
making a motion.
foreclosure
That
properties
Just seemed like it was gonna be hard to deal with otherwise.
as properties?
Okay, on the, now, are we moving on to setting the,
Did we do a motion for the minimum bid
no, that's,
price?
do you need that next, right? Who wants to make the motion?
Make a motion to sell these properties at taxes, fees, and such owed according to Century Code. Is that correct?
Such to include maintenance and securing the property.
That's what I said.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo,
Yes.
motion passes. Okay,
Beth, just an opinion that if these properties stay as is and they go up for sale, you might want to look at putting this somewhere else besides up in the front lobby. You might have a lot more interest than you've had in the past.
no,
last-
we have it over at Broadway Commons in the room over there now.
okay. Fantastic. Okay,
And then
Brenda?
the last thing on the tax foreclosure, gentlemen, is we need to set an objection date. And I would recommend that we do that on October 19th. And that is the date that cities and townships have the opportunity to come in and make an objection to the minimum bid sale price that you guys have set today.
Where do they come and object?
It's during the commission meeting on the 19th is what we normally do.
Okay, would anybody like to make that motion?
Second.
A motion and a second? To set the date at the October 19th meeting, normal commission meeting? Okay. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
motion passes. Okay, thank you, Brenda. Communications. Good afternoon, evening, whatever.
Whatever time it is today.
Yeah.
All right, I actually have two letters for you. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the Marley Crossing one as well. Mr. Nelson does not have a road update, so we'll just consolidate these.
Perfect.
So the first thing I bring to you today has to do with the Interim Legislative Acute Psychiatric Treatment Committee. It was established out of House Bill 1012 of the previous legislative session. Recently been following its activities online with their meetings and whatnot. The committee is tasked with conducting a study of acute psychiatric residential care across the entire state. This is kind of born out of the state wanting to redo the state hospital and upgrade it, but understanding that there's greater needs than just what the hospital has. And the study really has an emphasis on looking at rural areas. And so given the commission's involvement with trying to be part of the solution for behavioral health in Williams County and across our rural areas in northwestern North Dakota, when I talked with Commissioner Kemp a little bit about this, recommending to the commission if you would like to send a letter of support to the committee, simply saying that Williams County is here. We're listening, we're supportive. At a local level, the commission and the county has tried to make a difference within our community, but we do need the state support to be able to help move the needle on inpatient and residential care. We don't want to get lost in this mix. It's a pretty aggressive schedule that they have to have the study done by next year. And the committee is pretty engaged with it. They've acknowledged that there has been study after study after study, but they need an actionable plan. And they need to really recognize the needs and what's possible out here. So, and then per Commissioner Kemp's recommendation would actually to have you all to sign the letter if you wish. The committee meets again on October 25th. So if you have an alternate idea or would like to make changes to the letter or have further discussion, we have at least one more meeting to be able to do that, but they're moving pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't believe there's anything very controversial in it. It just is a letter of goodwill, right? And the power of signing everybody signing on it, everybody being behind it. But
Okay, I will make the motion to approve this letter and authorize all commissioners to sign.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Can I have him to sign right now?
Do you have, oh, can you use this one? That's all on the same page. Por favor. Thanks. Oh. Could be arranged. Okay, so switching gears a little bit.
No pun intended.
Oh,
Moving on to roads.
yeah,
switching
there we
gears.
go. Yes. Nice.
Sorry.
So in some discussions with you all and then also with Dennis Nelson, our highway superintendent, with the anticipated development that is to come into the Marley Crossing area and the pressure that that could likely put on Highway 1804. This is a letter that would be addressed to our local and federal representatives, urging some, and state, urging some action to be able to really seriously look into putting an overpass in the Marley Crossing area to be able to alleviate truck traffic in and around the railroad spur area. There is a map of the area attached to the letter as well. A motion to approve, the chairman to sign.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? There is a tremendous amount of development going on down there, and this was a thought process to just get some attention. So. Yeah,
And if it takes 10 more, then you can start today.
yeah. So well, okay, hearing, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much, Lindsay, for the two very well-crafted letters. All righty.
You like letters on
Keith?
like this?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good
I just
evening.
have two things, quick things. The Northwest Youth Assessment Center, hail damaged. It's been a challenge to even find somebody to get me a quote. Had many people come out, look at it. One company sent me aerial photographs and never sent a quote. It's been bizarre, to say the least. I got a quote from Dynamic National. They did the best job of actually looking at the property. We sent this quote to NDERF, and they are reviewing it to possibly get us a little more. NDERF will. The only thing that NDERF will not cover is the vinyl fence. That's in this quote. So I guess I'm looking for permission to sign that quote and get NDERF or Dynamic National on the chain for next spring to actually get this work done.
The total price is 48,417
That's,
and
yeah.
46 cents. Good. And how much of this is likely to be covered? Do we know?
Should be most of it, all but I think our deductible, Julie's not here, I think our deductible's 5,000
Okay.
per
Okay.
building.
Motion to approve and authorize Keith to be able to sign it and get the ball moving.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Keith, they will do this next year for this price?
Once they've quoted it, I've actually talked to him. He's been the only company that's actually made contact about every 2 weeks, asking, what's going on. So he's been, really engaged. We already have got our ACV payment for this. So once we get the work done, we'll get the rest of our, the RCV part of it.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes, motion passes.
So the second thing I have is for, it's a grant for court facilities improvement. Helen and I met with Carolyn Probst a few weeks ago. They want to install 2 doors in, back in the clerk of court's office that would make what used to be, my understanding used to be a copier room type room into an office. We applied for this grant last year. My understanding, we did not get the grant. So this should be just applying again this year for the grant. Our portion of it, if we were to get granted the grant, it would be $883 would be our portion to pay.
Okay.
And then
Any
you-
wishes?
the back is the quote from J.E. Dunn to install
Perfect.
those doors.
What are the wishes of the board?
I would make a motion to accept J.E. Dunn's quote
Well, the motion be for Steve to sign it.
and have chairman sign.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo.
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen? Round 2.
Hello. Yep. No. Okay, so the only thing I have on there is the county, about a week or so ago, received offered a lease and then also an alternative offer to purchase mineral interest that we supposedly have in Tyrone Township, Section 10. I did do a little brief check-in, and according to the county records with the recorder's office, we did receive a mineral deed from somebody back in 1992 that does cover the property here. So the question is, I want to know if, because state law requires the county as a political subdivision to advertise its minerals unless it's within the minimum drilling acres and if it's a non-operative lease. Well, it's within the minimum drilling acres because it's only 0.15 mineral acres, but this corporation, Murex Petroleum Corporation, they don't want to put a non-operative clause in the lease, and so that means that we would have to advertise this in order to sign the lease with them, really.
Why do we have to sell them?
Well, we don't have to, but they're going to be doing some drilling and it's going across.
Sell 'em
But we don't have to sell them.
No,
we're
no, we
just
don't,
gonna
no,
lease-
I'm sorry, we don't have to sell them, we can just lease them.
Okay.
But that's what the two options, lease
I-
or sell. So no, we don't have to sell.
So
I-
what do you have to do to lease them?
Again, we'd have to advertise these minerals for public bid before we would be able to sign any kind of lease on them, really.
I'll make a motion that we advertise them for lease.
Okay, is there a
Second.
second? Corey seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo,
Yes.
David?
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, thank you, and I'll work with Beth, the details of the advertisement and the bidding, auction stuff, so, yeah. All right,
Okay.
thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Helen?
I wasn't able to print or email an update this afternoon, but I do have a change to the document that you would have received, and I'm going to write it on for Beth. We're looking for permission to fill two positions in the sheriff's office, a patrol corporal, which may well end up to be a patrol deputy if we do an internal fill, and a corrections officer.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
motion passes.
Now, we do have an open seat on the park board. The park board met, passed a recommendation to this board to have Katie Ogden fill that position.
Do we need a motion on that? We do, right?
The county commission has to do the
Oh,
appointment.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we follow the recommendations of the Park Board and appoint Katie Ogden to the Williams County Park Board.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Can I also put the term of office on the motion?
That would be much,
It's on the sheet, you can.
Well, yeah, but okay, thank you.
Sure.
Steve,
yes,
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
motion passes.
That's all I have for you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? For the good of the order, we will adjourn.